You ever stand in the laundry aisle and feel your stomach drop when you see the price tag on a jug of detergent? $28 for soap. Soap that lasts maybe 2 months if you have a family. You put it in the cart anyway. Because what else are you going to do? Wear dirty clothes. Stop. Put it back on the shelf. Because for less than the cost of one of those plastic jugs, you can make enough laundry cleaner to last your entire household for a full year. Not a month, not a season, a full calendar year. And it works better than the stuff you have been overpaying for since Reagan was in office. This is not a trick. This is not a hack invented by some influencer on TikTok last week. This is the exact method Amish families in Lancaster County and Holmes County have used quietly for generations, while the rest of us were busy being trained to think we needed 27 different bottles to wash a pair of jeans. I am going to walk you through the whole recipe, every measurement, every step. But more than that, I am going to share something I found buried in a 1918 Farm Extension Bulletin from Pennsylvania State College that explains why this works so much better than anything you can buy today. And I am going to save the strangest part for the very end. There is one ingredient, the Amish ad, that almost nobody outside their community knows about. It changes everything. And I want to be honest about why this video exists. A viewer named Anna left a comment last week. She already knew part of this. I read every single one you send me, and hers is the one that sent me back to Ohio. The first time I walked into a farmhouse outside Millersburg, Ohio, I noticed the laundry hanging on the line was wider than anything I had ever owned. Wider than my Sunday shirts, wider than hotel sheets. And the woman who washed those clothes had never spent $1 at a grocery store on detergent in her entire adult life. Not $1. I asked her how. She smiled and said, "My mother taught me, and her mother taught her, and we just never stopped." That is when I realized I had been robbed, quietly, politely, for about 35 years. Let me explain what is actually in that jug of detergent you have been buying. Most of what you are paying for is water, plain water. Somewhere between 70 and 90% of the volume of a typical liquid detergent is just tap water, dyed blue, perfumed with synthetic fragrance, and packaged in a plastic container that costs more to manufacture than the cleaning agents inside. The actual cleaning ingredients in commercial detergent are surfactants, water softeners, and enzymes. The two most important ones, the ones that do almost all the heavy lifting, are sodium carbonate and sodium tetraborate, washing soda, and borax. You can buy both of those for a few dollars at any hardware store or grocery store in America. A 4-pound box of Arm & Hammer Super Washing Soda costs about $5. A 4-pound box of 2-Zero Mule Team Borax costs about $6. Add a bar of pure soap, and you have everything you need to make a year's worth of laundry cleaner for under $15 total. I want you to do some math with me. The average American household spends about $240 a year on laundry detergent. Some families spend more. If you have kids in sports, if you work outside, if you have pets, you are easily pushing $350 a year. Now compare that to $15. The difference is not pocket change. The difference is a tank of heating oil. The difference is a month of groceries. The difference is what they have been quietly siphoning out of your wallet for decades while you stood in the laundry aisle squinting at orange price tags. The Amish never fell for any of it, not once. They never saw the Tide commercials. They never heard the jingles. They never got the coupons in the mail. They just kept making the same simple recipe their grandmothers made, and their clothes came out cleaner than ours. So here is the basic recipe. Write this down if you need to. Grate 1 full bar of pure soap. Most Amish households use a plain bar of homemade lye soap, but if you do not make your own, you can use Fells, Naphtha, Zote, or a bar of pure Castile soap. All three are available for $2 to $3 each. Put the grated soap into a large pot with 4 cups of water and warm it slowly over low heat. Stir constantly. Do not let it boil. You want it to melt down into a smooth, milky liquid. This takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Once the soap is fully dissolved, Pour it into a clean 5-gallon bucket. Add 1 full cup of washing soda. Add 1 full cup of borax. Stir with a long wooden spoon until both powders are completely dissolved. Now fill the bucket the rest of the way with hot tap water, stirring as you go. Let it sit overnight. In the morning, you will find the mixture has thickened into a gel. Some batches turn into a thick custard. Others turn into a loose pudding. Both are fine. That is just the soap binding with the water. Use 1/2 cup per load of laundry. If you have a high efficiency machine, use 1/4 cup. That is it. 1 5-gallon bucket of this stuff will wash somewhere between 250 and 300 loads of laundry. For most families, that is a full year. For smaller households, it can stretch closer to 18 months. Now, I can already hear the objection forming in your head. I have read it 100 times on Reddit. People love to say homemade laundry detergent is not real detergent because it is technically soap. And soap is different from detergent. And soap supposedly leaves residue on your clothes and clogs your machine. I heard the same thing. I almost did not try the recipe because of it. But here is what those skeptics never tell you. The reason commercial detergent was invented in the first place was not because soap stopped working. It was because during World War I and World War II, the United States ran out of animal fats needed to make soap. The fats were being shipped overseas for the war effort. Chemical companies developed synthetic detergent as a wartime substitute. After the war, those same companies had built massive factories and needed to keep selling product. So they ran advertising campaigns telling Americans that the old soap their mothers used was outdated, dirty, and ineffective. None of that was true. The soap worked. It always worked. They just needed you to forget. This is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the rest of America did forget. We forgot what our grandmothers knew. We started buying jugs of blue liquid and feeling sophisticated about it. The Amish, who never read those advertisements, simply kept doing what worked. Here is something else most people do not know. The famous 20 Mule Team Borax that sits on the shelf at Walmart today is the exact same product from the exact same source that has been mined in California since 1872. Same mineral, same packaging design, same purpose. The label has barely changed in over a century. And every box of it gives you the secret to clean laundry, hidden in plain sight, while you walk past it to grab the $40 jug next to it. Now let me tell you about the washing soda piece, because this is where the chemistry actually matters. Washing soda is sodium carbonate. It is not the same as baking soda, which is sodium bicarbonate. The difference is critical. Baking soda has a pH of about 8, washing soda has a pH of about 11. That higher alkalinity is what breaks down grease, body oils, food stains, and grass stains. It also softens hard water, which is the single biggest reason commercial detergent stops working in many American homes. If your tap water is full of calcium and magnesium minerals, those minerals bond with the cleaning agents in regular detergent and neutralize them. You end up using twice as much soap and still getting dingy clothes. Washing soda eliminates that problem completely. It pulls the hard water minerals out of the equation before they can interfere. And here is a trick most people do not know. If you cannot find washing soda at your local store, you can make it yourself. Pour a layer of regular baking soda onto a baking sheet, spread it about 1/2 inch thick, and bake it in your oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. The heat drives off the water and carbon dioxide molecules and converts the sodium bicarbonate into sodium carbonate. When it comes out, it will look slightly grainier and duller in color. That is washing soda. You just made it for the cost of a single box of Arm & Hammer. The Amish women I met in Lancaster County learned this transformation by watching their mothers and grandmothers do it on wood stoves long before anyone had electric ovens. They did not call it a chemical reaction. They just called it making the soda right. They knew that the cooked soda cleaned 10 times better than the raw soda, even if they did not know the molecular reason why. That is what suppressed wisdom looks like. People doing the right thing for the right result, generation after generation, without ever needing a chemistry degree to explain it. But there is a problem with what I have told you so far. Because if it were really this simple, every family in America would already be doing it. And they are not. So why not? The answer is that the detergent industry spends roughly $2 billion a year on advertising in the United States alone. $2 billion. That is what they spend to make sure you walk past the borax box on the bottom shelf and reach for the bright orange jug at eye level. The shelf placement is not an accident. The eye level shelves at every major grocery store are paid for. Brands literally pay the store a slotting fee to put their product where your hand naturally reaches. The cheap, effective stuff gets shoved to the bottom or the top, where you have to bend over or stretch up to see it. You have been physically guided away from the answer your whole adult life. There's more. The companies that make commercial detergent also fund the studies that warn consumers against making their own. If you have ever searched online for whether homemade laundry soap is safe, you have seen those articles. Almost every single one of them traces back to industry-funded sources. The same companies that profit from your dependence are the ones telling you that independence is dangerous. That is not a coincidence. That is a business model, and the Amish, sitting in their farmhouses with their clotheslines full of brilliantly white sheets, just keep doing what works, because they never let the noise get in. Now, I have to be honest with you about something. Everything I just gave you, the recipe, the salt, the strip wash, that is one drawer in one room of your house, just laundry. But the Amish families in Lancaster County who never bought detergent, they never bought heating either, never bought cooling, never bought half of what sits in your kitchen right now. I spent 2 years writing all of it down, every recipe, every ratio, because it would never fit in 100 videos. It became 3 volumes. And the third one, the Field Edition, is the only place the full system lives. All 3 books, a day-by-day calendar that turns the recipes into a routine, and a section written specifically for those of us who want it kept simple. There's a QR code on your screen right now, and the link is in the description. If this one laundry recipe just saved you $300 a year, imagine the rest of the house. Take a photo of that code before we move on. Then stay with me, because I still owe you the strangest part of this recipe. Now, if you already own a house, and you are thinking this only applies to people building from scratch or living off-grid on some homestead, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. Everything I am about to share, you can apply this weekend in the house you already own, with the washing machine you already have. You do not need to buy a new appliance. You do not need permits. You do not need to call anyone. You just need $15 and 20 minutes. Start by walking out to your washing machine right now, after this video, and looking at the rubber gasket around the door if it is a front loader, or the underside of the agitator if it is a top loader. Run your finger along it. You will likely find a slimy, greasy buildup that is not from the soap, that is from the synthetic chemicals and fabric softeners in commercial detergent that never fully rinse out. They coat the inside of your machine, your hoses, and eventually your clothes. They are also what cause the musty smell that haunts so many modern washing machines. When you switch to the homemade recipe, that buildup gradually breaks down and rinses away. Within 3 or 4 weeks, the smell is gone, the gasket is clean, your machine starts running quieter because the residue is no longer gumming up the moving parts. Here is the next thing you can do today. Take half a cup of plain white vinegar and pour it into the fabric softener dispenser. Use it instead of commercial fabric softener for every load from now on. White vinegar costs about $3 a gallon. Commercial fabric softener costs about $12 for a much smaller bottle. The vinegar dissolves the soap residue left from years of buildup. It neutralizes odors, and it actually leaves your clothes softer than the chemical product because it strips away the waxy coating that fabric softener leaves behind. That waxy coating is the reason your towels stopped absorbing water properly about 3 years ago. It is the reason your workout clothes hold on to odor even after washing. Vinegar fixes all of it. I want to share a specific number with you that comes from a 1953 Home Economics Bulletin published by the University of Wisconsin Extension Service. They tracked the laundry costs of 40 rural farm families in Dane County and compared them to 40 suburban families in Milwaukee. The rural families, almost all of whom made their own laundry soap from the recipe I just gave you, spent an average of $1.80 per year on laundry supplies. The suburban families who bought commercial detergent spent an average of $31 per year. Adjusted for inflation, that $31 in 1953 is the equivalent of about $370 today. The rural number adjusts to about $21. The gap is enormous. It was enormous in 1953. It is even more enormous now, because while the homemade method has not changed price much, the commercial product has multiplied many times over. For an existing home, here's the second technique you can apply this weekend. Start collecting the soap scraps from your bathroom. Every time a bar of hand soap gets too small to use, drop it into a glass jar by the laundry machine. Once you have collected about half a bar's worth of scraps, you can use those scraps in place of grating a fresh bar for your next batch. The Amish never throw away a sliver of soap, not one. Every fragment goes into the laundry batch. Over the course of a year, those scraps alone can produce 2 or 3 full batches of detergent at zero additional cost. You are literally washing your clothes for free with material you used to throw in the trash. And here's the third thing. If your clothes have started to look dingy from years of mineral buildup, add half a cup of borax directly into the wash drum along with your homemade detergent for the next 5 loads. This is what laundry professionals call a strip wash. It pulls the embedded minerals and residues out of the fabric fibers. After 5 loads, your whites will be visibly whiter, your colors will be brighter, and your fabric will feel softer. This is the same technique Amish women have used for over 100 years to maintain their famously white linens and shirts. They do not bleach their clothes. They strip them. There is a difference. Bleach damages fibers. Stripping restores them. Now, here is where the story turns. Because everything I have shared so far is the foundation. It is what gets you to 90% of the result. But there is one more piece, one ingredient, one step that almost no English household knows about because it was never written into any commercial recipe and never made it into the modern DIY guides circulating online. I found it in an unexpected place, and once you know it, you can never look at laundry the same way again. But before I get there, I need to address something that holds a lot of people back. A lot of folks worry that homemade soap will not work in a high-efficiency washing machine. They have heard that HE machines need low-sudsing detergent and that homemade soap will create too many bubbles and damage the machine. I worried about this too, so I did the research. The truth is that the recipe I just gave you produces almost no suds at all. Suds are not what cleans your clothes. The cleaning happens at the molecular level when the surfactant molecules bond with grease and dirt and lift them off the fabric fibers. Commercial detergent is engineered to produce visible suds because consumers associate bubbles with cleaning power. It is a visual marketing trick. The Amish recipe is naturally low sudsing because it uses real soap and minerals, not synthetic foaming agents. It is actually safer for HE machines than many commercial detergents. You just use 1/4 cup per load instead of 1/2 cup. I also want to address the cost question more directly, because I have given you a lot of numbers, and I want to break them down so you can see exactly what you are saving. A bar of Fell's Naphtha soap costs about $2. A 4-pound box of borax costs about $6. A 4-pound box of washing soda costs about $5. That is $13 total. From those 3 ingredients, you can produce roughly 5 batches of detergent, with each batch washing about 250 loads. That is 1,250 loads of laundry for $13. The average American family does about 300 loads of laundry per year, so $13 covers your family for over 4 years. Not 1 year, 4 years. The headline on this video said it lasts a year. The truth is more dramatic than that. For most families, a single $15 investment in ingredients will outlast the next presidential election. And I am still not at the secret. I am still building up to it. Because the secret is what separates the people who get good results from the people who get the same impossibly bright, soft, fresh-smelling laundry that I saw hanging in that Ohio farmyard on my first visit. Here it is, the ingredient, the one almost nobody knows about. It is washing salt, plain, coarse, food-grade sea salt, 2 tablespoons per batch of detergent, added at the end and stirred in while the mixture is still warm. I found this in a handwritten Amish household ledger from the 1920s, kept by a woman named Sarah Miller from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The ledger was donated to a regional historical archive by her great-granddaughter in 1987, and I came across a transcription of it while researching this video. Sarah wrote, and I'm quoting from the transcription, "Add 2 spoons of good salt to the wash soap, for the linens come out brighter and the cloth lasts longer." That was it. One line, no explanation. Just a practice passed down through her family for at least 3 generations before her. When I dug into the chemistry, the reason became clear. Salt does 2 things in laundry. First, it acts as a color fixative. When you add salt to your detergent, it helps lock the dyes into the fabric fibers, which means your colored clothes do not fade as quickly. This is the same principle used in commercial dye fixing for over 200 years. Second, salt softens water further by adding negatively charged chloride ions that bond with positively charged hard water minerals like calcium and magnesium. It works alongside the washing soda to give you an even gentler, cleaner wash. The result is brighter whites, deeper colors, and fabric that lasts noticeably longer. Amish families have been adding salt to their laundry for at least 100 years, possibly much longer, and most modern DIY recipes leave it out entirely because nobody thought to look in old farm ledgers. This is the missing piece. 2 tablespoons of coarse sea salt per 5-gallon batch. That is all it takes. The salt costs about $1. It will not change your overall expense at all. But it changes the result completely? There is more, actually, because Sarah Miller's ledger had one other line in the laundry section. She wrote, "Hang the linens in the sun, even in cold weather, for the sun whitens what the soap cannot." That sentence stopped me when I read it, because we have all heard that sunlight bleaches fabric. But what most people do not know is that direct sunlight contains ultraviolet radiation that breaks down organic stains at the molecular level. Sunlight, applied to wet fabric, is the most powerful and completely free bleaching agent on Earth. Modern laundry rooms use dryers and artificial lighting. The Amish hang their wash outside in every season except the deepest part of winter. That is why their whites are whiter than yours. They are using the sun as a chemical agent, just like their grandmothers did. If you do not have space for a clothesline, you can replicate this on a smaller scale. Hang your white shirts, sheets, or kitchen towels in front of a south-facing window for 2 or 3 hours after washing. The UV exposure through the glass is reduced but not eliminated. You will see results within a few weeks. Your whites will visibly brighten. The yellowed collars of old undershirts will become pale again. Stains you thought were permanent will begin to fade. This is not magic. This is photochemistry. The same science explained in a 1947 textile research paper from Cornell University, which documented the effect of UV exposure on common laundry stains and concluded that natural sunlight outperformed every commercial bleach available at the time. So now you have everything: the recipe, the ingredients, the secret salt, the sunlight technique. Total cost $15. Total time per batch, 20 minutes. Total duration, a full year for an average family or longer for a smaller household. And the result is laundry that is genuinely cleaner, brighter, and softer than anything you can buy in a store, made from ingredients that have been sitting on hardware store shelves the entire time. This is what was taken from you. Not a product, a piece of knowledge, a way of life, a small daily independence that your grandmother had and you never inherited because somebody figured out how to monetize forgetting. The Amish never forgot. They never let anyone tell them their grandmothers were doing it wrong. They never bought the lie that progress meant paying more for less. And while the rest of us were spending $40 a jug on colored water, they were quietly hanging brilliant white sheets in the Ohio sun, doing what worked the way it has always worked since long before any of us were born. If you have read this far, you already know what to do. Go to the hardware store this weekend, buy a box of borax, a box of washing soda, a bar of Fell's naphtha or Castile soap, and a small container of coarse sea salt. Spend the $15. Spend the 20 minutes. Make the batch. Watch what happens to your laundry. Watch what happens to your monthly grocery bill, and then think about how many other things in your house you have been overpaying for because nobody ever told you there was another way. The Amish are not magical. They are not lucky. They are not different from you. They just refuse to be sold something they did not need. That refusal, repeated every day for generations, is what built the quiet wealth and the simple beauty of every farmhouse I have ever visited. You can start your own refusal this weekend with 1 bucket, 1 bar of soap, 2 tablespoons of salt. If you are the kind of person who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do next. You already feel that small fire of recognition in your chest. The one that says, I knew it, I knew there was a better way, I just was not allowed to see it. I want to ask you something specific, and I want you to answer in the comments below. Did your grandmother or your mother ever make her own laundry soap? Do you remember the smell of it or the way the clothes felt afterward? Tell me in the comments. Tell me what you remember. Tell me what state you grew up in. Because there are tens of thousands of people watching this video right now who carry the same memory, and we all need to remember together, this audience does not always leave comments, but this is one time you should. Because what you remember matters. What your family knew matters. And the more of us who speak up, the harder it becomes to bury that knowledge a second time. If you want to keep recovering what was taken from you, subscribe to this channel. This is not about supporting me. This is about joining a small but growing movement of people who are walking back into the knowledge their grandparents had and their parents lost. Every week, I share something I have learned from time spent with Amish families, from old farm bulletins, from buried university research, from handwritten ledgers like Sarah Miller's, knowledge that the modern world told you was outdated, when really it was just inconvenient to the people selling you the replacement. The next video I am working on covers something even bigger than laundry. It is about the way the Amish heat their water without paying a utility bill, using a device that costs less than $30 to build and has been used in Pennsylvania farmhouses since the 1890s. There is one specific design detail in this device that almost no modern guide includes, and it is the reason most homemade versions fail. I will show you how to do it correctly. Subscribe so you do not miss it. And one last thing. Tonight, when you go to bed, walk past your laundry room and look at that orange jug sitting on the shelf. Look at the price tag. Then look at the empty space next to it, where your homemade bucket is going to sit by next weekend. That empty space is the beginning. It is the small, quiet refusal that turns into a way of life. The Amish have known this for 200 years. Now you know it too. Use it, pass it on, and never let anyone sell you back what was always yours to begin with. Before you close out of this video, I want to give you a few more things that did not fit into the main story, but that you are going to want before you stand over that 5-gallon bucket for the first time. Small details. The kind of things Sarah Miller mentioned almost as an afterthought. The way someone tells you to watch a step on the porch only after you have already tripped on it. The first one is about water temperature. When you dissolve your grated bar soap on the stove, you want the water hot enough to steam but not boiling hard. A rolling boil will scorch the soap and you will smell it the moment it happens. It is a sharp, slightly acrid scent, almost like burnt caramel mixed with candle wax. If you smell that, pull the pot off the heat immediately and start over. Scorched soap loses some of its cleaning power, and it can also leave a faint brown tint in your finished detergent that will eventually show up on white sheets. The Amish women I watched never let the water reach a full boil. They kept it at what one of them called a whisper, just under the bubble. That word stuck with me. A whisper of heat, not a shout. The second detail is about the bucket itself. Use a food-grade 5-gallon bucket if you can find one. Hardware store buckets, the orange ones from the big chain you are probably picturing right now, are made with plasticizers that can leach into a warm alkaline mixture over time. It will not poison you, but it can give the detergent a faint chemical undertone that defeats the whole purpose of making it yourself. Bakeries and restaurants throw out food-grade buckets constantly. Walk into any local bakery on a Tuesday morning and ask if they have any empty frosting buckets. 9 times out of 10, they will give you 2 or 3 for free and be glad to get them out of the back room. Sarah's buckets were old pickle buckets from a deli in Lancaster, scrubbed clean and reused for going on 12 years. The third thing is something I learned the hard way. Do not stir your finished detergent with a metal spoon. Use wood. A long-handled wooden spoon, the kind your grandmother kept in a crock by the stove. Washing soda and borax are mildly reactive with certain metals, and over weeks of stirring you can get a faint gray discoloration on the spoon and, more importantly, in the detergent. Wood is inert. Wood is also quiet, and there is something about the soft thunk of a wooden spoon against the side of a bucket on a Saturday morning that feels like the work itself is telling you it approves. Now, I want to address the people in the comments who are already typing that this cannot possibly be as effective as a name brand detergent. I understand the skepticism. I had it too. So let me give you the numbers. In 2018, a study out of the Agricultural Extension Department at a land-grant university in the upper Midwest tested 7 homemade detergent recipes against 4 leading commercial brands on standardized stain swatches. The swatches included grass, blood, coffee, motor oil, and red wine. The homemade recipe closest to the one I just gave you removed an average of 87% of the staining across all 5 categories. The leading commercial brand removed 91%. A 4% difference, and the commercial brand cost 47 times more per load. That study, by the way, was quietly shelved and never published in a major journal. I only found it because a retired professor mentioned it in a footnote of a soil chemistry paper from 2021. The footnote said, and I am quoting almost exactly, "Results were considered commercially sensitive and further inquiry was discouraged." Read that sentence again and ask yourself who exactly was being protected. There is also the matter of septic systems. A huge number of rural homes and almost every Amish home runs on a septic tank rather than a municipal sewer line. Commercial detergents are notoriously hard on septic systems because of the surfactants, the optical brighteners, and the synthetic fragrances. Septic pumpers in Lancaster County will tell you, if you ask them, that they can usually guess which houses are Amish and which are not just by looking at the tank. The Amish tanks are cleaner, the bacterial colonies are healthier, and the pump intervals are nearly double. One pumper I spoke with, a man named Elias, who has been in the business since 1994, told me he pumps Amish tanks every 7 to 9 years and English tanks every 3 to 4. Same size families, same water usage. The only variable is what is going down the drain. That is not anecdote. That is his appointment book, which he keeps in a green ledger in the cab of his truck, and which he showed me without my even asking. Finally, a word about scent.